Oh, yeah. Hello. First time in a while. I've been kind of nervous for a podcast. I don't know why. You put the DLF YouTube channel on the stream settings. For some reason, it feels like it hits a little differently. This is a regular Wednesday show we're rolling out with me, who is at PA Howdy on Twitter, by the way, senior writer for DLF Football, just because you have no idea who I am, probably. Where we talk about recent events in the NFL and how it might have a dynasty impact. Mostly kind of sliding towards things most people might overlook or not notice, because that's kind of where I live. I'm the king of the low odds plays, to be honest with you. So, that's the subject of the show every Wednesday, 9:30. And if I can persuade someone from DLF to come in here and talk with me and talk with you as well, I will. And this week, we're lucky enough to get Dynasty out himself. So, no, that's it. Hit up questions in the chat. It's a live podcast kind of a thing, I guess. And we'll try and answer them as we can. Yeah, let's get on into it, I guess. I've got buttons. Hang on. This channel is so much more complicated than mine. I keep forgetting I'm on a podcast. Hey, how you doing, House?
I was rocking the hell out a second ago.
I know, that's like,
oh man,
that's like I'm real pumped. Yeah, that's a little too much. You know, it's giving me anxiety. I need a little more low key. I just said what this show's about, but I honestly don't know, like dynasty implications of what happened on a weekly basis, and I'm getting that just from the title, which I wrote but didn't really have a clear plan for when I wrote it. So there we are.
Well, we know it's a Peter Howard show, which means we know there is no straight line anyway. So just start squiggling, and we'll see where we go.
I'm gonna squiggle away, my man. And so I thought we'd just divide it between major and minor, because I don't want to not mention the major notes of week one, because just in case you missed the fact that Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch and Elijah Mitchell went off kind of a little bit in week one for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't want to not mention it, but then I want to get off into the weeds a little bit about things that you think might be a little underrated as dynasty plays. Now, the other part of this is you've got two different types, I think. I like dividing things into dichotomies, I guess. You've got plays for now and plays for the future, or value plays and plays for points. Like Elijah Mitchell right now is clearly a player that's probably going to put up points, I think, at the running back position. Is he Saquon Barkley? No. Is he Saquon Barkley from a few years ago? No. Most certainly not. But I definitely think he's going to put up some points. I think he has the edge on being the San Francisco 49ers running back as long as he's healthy. At the same time, I think the dynasty move is to trade for a first if you can get one on that other side of the coin. Long term, I mean, Matt Spencer from RotoViz is literally just posting that one trade he's got where he got a first for Mitchell and a second in that one league, and he's just bragging everywhere because that's the move. And so, yeah, we're just splitting everything up into 4 different sections, I guess. So I don't know what you've got, or if I've missed any, but let me tell you what I think are the major things, those big, what we call them, headline things that happened week one for dynasty, that have dynasty implications on either side of that coin. One is Deebo Samuel still being the wide receiver 1. He was retired this offseason, but every time there's an actual season, he's a wide receiver 1 for San Francisco. I like saying that because literally no one else says it, and now I get to act like everyone except me. And by week 2, it probably won't be true. So that's a fun conversation. I don't know what you think we should do in that situation, but I'm assuming sell Debo and buy Ayuk, or maybe Sheffield, but I'm really not interested in him that much. It was really great week 1. I think he's more of that sell candidate. You've got Kyle Pitts being disappointing week 1, but I think he was actually really impressive for a rookie tight end. Like he was.
Are you sad about getting 8 targets? I mean,
no, I'm not. I'm really not.
Not you.
That's the thing.
The royal you. I mean, not you. We know you're not.
I think some people. I mean, literally, people were turning down trades for Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb and Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey for CeeDee Lamb, not really understanding that was the value side of the coin. The idea that he could be Travis Kelce, but only 22 years old. And at worst, you've got Mark Andrews. And it was a solid dynasty value play in the offseason, but it was never really about him putting up Kelce last year numbers. And so they just saw what a top 5 opportunity but rookie week one season looks like. And it was fairly solid. I think I had him down for 50 yards and a touchdown. And he wasn't too far off of that in overall production, but it wasn't, everything it was hyped up to be.
If the Falcons did score a touchdown that game, there was a very good chance it would have been Kyle Pitts. We could say that because you can't prove us wrong because they did not even score a touchdown that game.
Yeah, he finishes as tight end 23, which is better than a whole lot of other tight ends that were drafted with fair prices. And again, I just chase touches and opportunity because I really don't know how games are going to work out or how random variance, or as most people call it, life, is actually going to work out, because you can get lucky, you can get unlucky, you can hold your face the wrong way and not catch that touchdown, even though you're pretty good at doing that. And he had
Terry
literally,
it doesn't matter which way his face is turning, he's twisting and catching it.
There you go. Some players, right? He had literally top 5 tight end opportunity, which is what we were hoping for, and that's really impressive for a rookie tight end week one. I just think what we thought would be really impressive for a tight end week one was a lot more than that, even though we all spent all last season saying he wouldn't do that. And same with Ridley, like his wide receiver 56. I think I've called on Ridley a lot more than Pitts in the same game, and hopefully the Falcons can remember how to play football again next week. Is there anything more you like? Am I missing anything? I think that's probably so well discussed this week. I don't think anyone doesn't know. But
yeah, but I mean, it's like, are you really cooled on Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, or even Robert Tonyan for that?
I'm freaked the hell out about Aaron Rodgers. I'll be honest with you. I'm really freaked.
Like, the Falcons have always been bad. Their offensive line has always been bad. Just losing Julio but gaining Pitts doesn't make that offense as bad as it was last game. And there's literally no reason that the Packers would have been that bad. So it literally, you have to just. I know you're freaking out. We've talked about this at least once before, but still, week one, man, and that doesn't happen for no reason, and literally nothing really happened. And we have what we should be worried about with the Falcons is we have seen Matt Ryan is bad the first year of a new offensive coordinator.
We have seen that before. That's fair.
Yes, every single first year. So yeah, we should be a little worried. Don't try and drag Calvin Ridley into this. He is he's the number one, baby.
Well, yeah.
But no, there's this is something this isn't a major deal. You should not be upset about the Kyle Pitts usage at all. Would have been nice if he caught a touchdown. Yeah, sure. But you can't be sad about a tight end getting 8 targets. It just didn't happen to work out well for him this week.
No, I think, and just to dig into it a little bit more than I probably think it needs, it's like they didn't even lose Julio. I would love to say this is the effect of losing Julio, because that's where I live, old wide receivers, baby. But they barely had him last year. Ridley held his own with and without Julio last. I don't think that was it. I think the offense just struggled, which is worrying. But like you said, maybe it's just a 1-year thing. Matt Ryan's getting old, I guess. But I think we'll see whether it's going to trend up or down. It's probably going to be less than we expected for Calvin Ridley. That's why I'm saying I'm a little low on Ridley. Like, I honestly thought he could be the wide receiver 1 this season. I thought they would maintain their production because the loss of Julio wasn't that bad. Matt Ryan's old, but younger than me, I think. And also, quarterbacks can play. That type of quarterback as well can play for a long time. He's been 4,000 yards passing locked for years now. But obviously, I might have to bring that down a little bit for Ridley. But for Pitts, I'm actually pretty impressed. And for a guy who wasn't paying that kind of value for him, I drafted him in a rookie draft, but that's about it. So yeah, that's that whole mess. I think probably one underrated but major event is Devonta Smith was wide receiver 3 last week. I don't know what he looked like, because obviously I don't watch football, but when you look him on a spread, it's pretty impressive, man. I still think Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 1 from this class. He also had a good week this week. He was wide receiver 17, caught a touchdown of his own. But Devonta Smith, good old 23 BMI, because BMI isn't a real thing, and you should stop looking at that number. That was the most impressive wide receiver, over expected. I expected Jamar Chase to be the best rookie wide receiver from this class, and it's nice to finally get that right, because historically we get the wide receiver 1 wrong really badly. According to DLF ADP, but this year Chase looks solid. He looks great. But Smith, we're a little less certain of. He's fallen to wide receiver 3, 4, 5, and still a first-round pick. But that was a really I was really worried about that offense in general. And week 1, Devonta Smith just drags that entire team up, in my personal opinion, up by its bootstraps and makes it something of that Super Bowl run team that it was a few years ago. And that was the biggest thing I noticed in the major category. I don't know if his value is going to shift off it a lot. As far as major investments, one thing to do if you're looking for wide receivers, I think Smith is probably still easier to trade for than Chase. And so that's the guy I would focus. You're not going to have to pay extra because he's Jamar Chase. Instead, Devonta Smith, I don't think they're different valued anymore, but I think Smith is maybe easier to trade for. If you know what I mean?
Because, like you said, Chase still has that name cachet of being, I mean, in a one quarterback, a top 2 pick, probably top 3, because people will still take picks way too early. But still, literally. Absolutely. And the thing is, people who ended up with Smith, even though they didn't want him, because in rookie drafts, you do draft for the value on the board. So people might end up with Devonta Smith, even though they didn't want him. And they might be using this as a sell high. Here's the thing. That offense looked really good. We, as a whole, did not give Jalen Hurts any shot at progressing from year 1 to year 2. And again, 1 week, he looked really good. He was moving around the pocket, and still looking downfield to make passes. On Devonta Smith's first catch, which ended up being a touchdown, he beautifully stepped up, moved over, waited for a block, looked the safety off, and threw. I'm regurgitating what I heard someone else say.
I have no idea what any of those words mean, man. But I will say I was neutral because my play at quarterback is to wait until it's obvious, because quarterback evaluation, forget it. It's becoming increasingly obvious that the few in our community and on DLF that were Hurts can pass the ball really effectively. Ray Garvin from Dynasty Devi podcast, he was all over Hurts being a better passer than most rushers. And that seems to be true. That's the point I forgot. That's a good point.
Yeah. So between Smith and Chase, don't get me wrong, I want both of them. But yes, Chase will actually absolutely be harder to get than Smith right now. But I'm going to steal from your minor notes or whatever it was on your show sheet that I looked at for 30 seconds. The real play is go get Jalen Reagor.
I don't know about that. I would love that to be true.
Don't get me wrong. I kind of wish he didn't score a touchdown, because Jalen Reagor, who again, let's bring up Ray Garvin, because he was the main cheerleader on the Ray Garvin homecoming parade. He is not really a number 1 wide receiver. I wanted from the beginning for the Eagles I wanted them to get Chase, mostly because I just didn't want the Bengals to take Chase because T. Higgins, baby. But bringing in Devonta Smith, who is more of that X kind of guy, is great for Jalen Reagor. He is better at the 2. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a Z wide receiver, I think is what the other outside is. But still, and he did great, and he produced. He scored a touchdown. He caught a couple of very nice passes. And the more that offense progresses, which it looks like it should, because it played well together, and it's still just week 1. So I am a fan of going and getting Jalen Reagor, because again, so many people just wrote this guy off for dead. And now that he scored a touchdown, people might be looking just to get out. You're still not paying a first for him. You could probably get him easy for a second at this point still. And I think it's a great play.
I had to really squint to be in-ish on Jalen Reagor for this year, because there's a very good reason we're out. But my roller coaster of Jalen Reagor train is a wild one. I had him in tier 1 with CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, and he just made that tier look horrible in 2020 because I was 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3, so much better. And Higgins was right there. And speaking of which, I think Smith feels like Higgins from last year, not who's this year's Higgins, but no one was unhappy to get Higgins, but you wanted CD, and no one was unhappy to get Smith, but you wanted Jamar Chase, and there's some parallels dynasty value wise. Anyway, and so and this season I really squinted at. I made a whole new model to try to see who could beat expectation after struggling so hard. I'm looking for the Tyler Boyds. There's Tyler Boyd, who dropped in value after year 1, and then hit,
And
and
year
that's
2.
it. Like the hit rate for Dynasty DLF ADP is pretty much perfect, apart from Tyler Boyd. And so I was like, well, what was wrong with Tyler Boyd? And the question was nothing. He got 700 yards, and we dropped in 10 rounds for no good reason. I do that for like 2 straight hours every night. Every time I think of Tyler Boyd, I have no idea what we were doing.
Michael Thomas happens every time. It's the same thing with Jerry Jeudy and Justin Jefferson. We think Jerry Jeudy had a bad season because we had Justin Jefferson.
Anyway, where was it? Rager, yeah. So I plug everyone in, and Rager was one of the ones that came up as a potential, might still be good. Very borderline, but might still be good despite being disappointing. And week 1, here's the thing. He got a good role on his team, like 10% of the expected point opportunities. But he was really efficient because of that touchdown. And so like his volume's okay, but his production was more than we're probably going to get all year. And so I'm kind of in that Mike Williams mindset, dynasty value-wise. Like, I think Devonta Smith is... So. Yeah, I think Devonta Smith is a guy, but Jalen Reagor might be a disappointing week-to-week start at best. And Smith will be this year as well.
I'm not putting those guys up on the same level, absolutely. But if you want a cheap way into the offense, I will say go with Reagor.
I mean, if you want someone in the Chargers, it's Keenan Allen. And I think that's more, I think we're looking at Smith for that. Even though they're very different, we're not comparing the players here, just who's going to work out in Dynasty in different ways. But hopefully not. Like, I'm still kind of in... But if I can get a first plus for Reagor at this point,
if you get like first for Reagor, then you take
to like the value of a third in the DLF trade calculator, and I was like, God dang it,
that's rough.
But like after that week 1, first might be too much to hope for, but that's kind of where my buy sell line was this off season. So I got to go above that since that was a good first game. But yeah, you really got me off my groove. Smith. I think
for once I got you off of yours.
I think Smith might be one of those lesser noted, but he's a major value dynasty piece. Like he's really high valued in the trade calculator. People love him or liked him well enough, at least, to draft him in the first round. So I don't think anyone's unaware, but I think it might be slightly undernoted. With the conversation largely be focused on Jamar Chase can actually catch a ball after being convinced this offseason he couldn't. And yeah, I guess that's the next one. Jamar Chase had a great week 1 too. He can catch the ball like chill. Anything to add to that? Like Jamar Chase still wide receiver 1, or do you find someone else better now?
No, it's still there. Still there. He was able to see the black stripes on the ball just like he was the white stripes in college. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. He didn't get blinded by the different color stripes. Trey Sermon, healthy scratch week 1, Elijah Mitchell. We kind of covered that. Like, I'd sell Sermon right now. I don't see, on my timeline, personally, I see the opposite. Buy Trey Sermon. Like, I'm willing to be scared off by a healthy scratch week 1. Like, I'm done. I wasn't that in on Trey Sermon. I was convinced by film grinders he was better. He was kind of good-ish. He was kind of what you would expect on 2 different teams in college. He didn't impress. Statistically, that's what I saw. But at running back especially, I'm like, well, people that watch the game probably know a thing or two. And I heard a lot of positive, and healthy scratch week 1 just shakes me off of that. I'm not willing to trust other people's opinions that far. And apparently Kyle Shanahan's opinion is he looks better in the locker room, and I'm good with that. I'm willing to just sell. Am I just too crazy there?
No, absolutely with you. I know the popular play right now is to go by Elijah Mitchell, and honestly, I think I'm there. I've always been a fan of the fast guy in the Shanahan offense because while they do like to use like 4 guys and it's insanely frustrating, it always does break down to fast and big. So yeah, Sermon will be into play next week, which was insanely strange for him to be inactive anyway. But you're right. It's not good for a running back who is supposed to walk in and be fine to be in a healthy scratch. So
no, I'm done with that.
The thing, I want Sermon to come in week 2 and go for 80 yards and a touchdown, so I can be like, can I get my first back?
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't actually spend the first.
I did not either. It's weird. No one did. No one seems to have.
Oh, I absolutely have seen it. I can go dig up some receipts if we need to.
I'm sure.
I still don't think you have to pay a first for Mitchell. So if you can get him for a second, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you want to be weird and go get Jeff Wilson for when he comes back in a couple of weeks, that sounds like fun. That dude scores 3 touchdowns every time he touches the field. So Otherwise,
Yeah, I know. New Dynasty rule for me is if Kyle Shanahan likes him and drafts him, just don't. No, I'm not.
No.
I'm not really.
Pounding the table for Joe
You
Williams.
have
Was
to
that what it
drag me
was?
kicking and screaming to like a San Francisco player. It's one of those offenses where I get that it's great, but it's not great for fantasy. It has never. I mean, apart from picking up running backs off the waiver wire, starting them for a week's victory lapping, and then them being nothing the next week, like that's all the team's been good for. Apart from Deebo Samuel surprised me. And that's the only reason I was in on it. Like, once a player kicks my ass, I tend to remember that they have a habit of kicking you pretty hard. And so I just kept remembering that Deebo Samuel beat my expectation. I didn't like the offense. I was
Imagine
okay
if
on the
Deebo
profile.
Samuel didn't have the injury history. How much more we'd like him. Like, what if he's Keenan Allen or Frank Gore? Like, remember how injury prone they were? Heavy quotes on those in the beginning of their careers, and now
Matt Stafford.
Deebo,
that's always the one I remember. No one even remembers that. Matt Stafford was highly touted as injury prone from the start of his career. No one even remembers that.
A ridiculous like spine injury. It was like 2-3 years ago. But you want to talk about low talked about things? Check the comments and put that on the screen.
It's just a pair of eyes by Johannes.
No. The next one. There you go.
Pharaoh Brown. I know the name. No. What do you know about Pharaoh Brown?
The Houston offense just did really well for some reason. I get it. The Jaguars are insanely terrible, and we have to keep that in mind. We have to keep that in mind that the Jaguars defense is very, very bad. But here's the thing. There are two people to catch the ball on this team. We thought there was one. We thought it was Brandon Cooks and nothing else. Apparently, there is Pharaoh Brown.
He had
Do you want to invest in that? I got to be honest. I like Brevin Jordan too much to want to believe that Pharaoh Brown's going to be a thing. But
my Brevin Jordan takes.
Like, are you gonna? You don't have to invest anything in Pharaoh Brown. So yeah, go pick him up. Redraft. I mean, are you stashing tight ends in redraft? No.
Right.
And Dynasty. I know since we are on DLF, we are talking Dynasty for reals. Yeah, go stash him. Why not? Because when tight ends hit, even in a non-premium, they get very expensive just because you want that positional advantage. There's a very good chance that Tyrod starts the entire season. There's a very good chance that they're a little better than we thought they would be. And if they are, it will, like Pharaoh Brown will have something to do with it because there's two people on that team that can catch the ball. And apparently he's one of them.
There is increasingly an edge with stacking tight
David
end,
Johnson. Sorry.
Especially if it's a single start position because it's slightly undervalued in Dynasty and people play it weird. They want to draft Tyler Higbee and make him Travis Kelce. But if you just stack up Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, you're at a huge advantage, even at a onesie position. So I don't mind taking a lot
in 2 leagues.
I actually don't mind taking a lot of deep shots on tight end with the hope of getting something like that eventually. But outside of that, the easier and by far the strategy that or the play that should be employed the most is I've got friggin' Jonas Smith or Hunter Henry, and I've got Logan Thomas and a bunch of and you just stream, and that's it.
But
if you land the Mark Andrews, you just don't forget it. And if you get a Travis Kelce, like you made it. But it's still right now. I think this is a Travis Kelce, Darren Waller era, and everyone wants it to be the 5-stack era. And it's just, no, we're lucky to have 2. Gronk and Jimmy. And before that, Gates and Gonzalez, like you get 2 at like 2. You're real lucky to have 2. And it's just Waller and Kelce. And they play for forever, man. Tight ends just play for forever unless you're Jordan Reed. You just play for Jordan Reed. Broke my heart.
He's so talented. Just
injuries, man. But yeah, outside of that, I think the major story from week 1 was struggling running backs, man. Ezekiel Elliott was running back 39 in points. Saquon Barkley, 47, running back 47. Austin Eckler was 27. I think under-noticed, at least on my timeline, but I think we were expecting top 5 and not 27. And Gibson was 20. I think people were actually pretty happy with that because his usage is what it was last year. I mean, he's got that top 12 running back profile, not that top 3, but that top 12, and that's borderline, and that's good. Henry was running back 31. Titans also sucked this week.
That scares me.
CEH being running back 32 was a personal fun tilt of mine, but I don't think anyone else cares, but I thought I'd throw it in there. Like, high value, high price, we're expecting a lot of these running backs, and a lot of them struggled week 1. Again, there's week 1 caveats everywhere, and most people are expecting most of these to bounce back. Are there any that seem like... sell or strong buys? Or...
Zeke and Saquon. I'm still in on Saquon.
It's not a buy and
Saquon.
sell podcast, right? It's just an in general dynasty.
Yeah, but that just lets you know how we're feeling about it by saying buy or sell. It's just we knew Zeke wasn't going to be good week 1. If you
I was not doctoring. I was like,
if you were unlike Peter and you watch football,
fair enough.
Zeke was fantastic for the Dallas Cowboys. He just wasn't very good for your fantasy. Well, he was terrible for your fantasy team. He was an extra lineman.
It does show up on the sheets. Like, he had a lot of opportunity relative to what the team did that game for a running back. Like,
he had 70% of the touches. He had less targets than Pollard, but still had, I think it was around a 10% target share. But still, like, it was everything you want it to be, except they played the best front 4 in the league. That's what it comes down to. You saw by the way they were playing. Most of their runs were sweeps for Pollard to run outside. They knew they weren't going up the middle, so they didn't try. In which case, don't be worried. Saquon, they said from the beginning he wasn't going to be a thing this week. They said they're going to work him in slowly. Good. He shouldn't be ready yet, but the dude is a freak of nature, and good. Let him go in and keep playing. Austin Eckler, I am scared that man got 0 targets.
That was weird, right?
That's terrifying. From Justin Herbert, who loved...
They all went to DeAndre Swift for some reason.
DeAndre Swift to the freaking moon at this point, and Jamal Williams. They could both go nuts at this point with how terrible that defense is.
That was actually something that struck me this year. Like, we were all hoping that... I was hoping that DeAndre Swift could work his way into like a Jonathan Taylor, not a Jonathan Taylor, but more like an Antonio Gibson workload, 50% rushing, but with a higher receiving floor, because that's what he showed last year. And instead, he was more 30-30. He was like an Austin Eckler, like heavily used in the receiving game and kind of well used in the running game. And that was weird, but I'll take it.
They came in saying that Swift wasn't getting his full workload.
Yeah.
In which case, I do think his rushing will go up. And if we can keep that receiving, then he has top 3 upside. Who else did you list in there? Gibson, I'm fine with. I am terrified of Derrick Henry right now, especially with the amount of shares I have on teams that did not win last year, were very close to it because Derrick Henry took you to the championships and then kind of screwed you in the championships a little bit. CEH, man, he's never really been my thing. I like the idea of CEH much more than what happened the second he got drafted. Like, the second he got drafted, he was just way too much for me. But yeah, 32 kind of sucks a little bit, but we knew they don't really pass to the backs. And when you're playing against Myles Garrett on one side and Jadeveon Clowney on the other side, you just get rid of the ball as fast as humanly possible. You don't care what you're doing with it. And CEH needs that time to move. He's not like a run up the middle kind of guy, in which case this is one of those times where if you like CEH, don't run away. Don't be scared. Keep going, just because that game script wasn't for him. And it was very competitive the entire time. And what is that team going to do when they're in a close game? They're going to put the ball in the hands of their best player, and that's Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. So it sucks that he didn't get the production. If he would have gotten I don't think he scored a touchdown, right? Like, if CEH would have gotten a touchdown, we would not be questioning this whatsoever. In which case, I'm fine. Like, CEH is fine if you liked him then, and if not, like me, you get the excuse to say, "Oh, he's terrible."
The Chiefs actually score points weirdly, but I can't really get into that right now. But it's like it's a projection thing. But yeah, I'm not worried about CEH. Zeke, it's just wait. He's going to produce, and then buy, sell, trade, keep, depending on when his value bounces up, because the production's coming. Henry, I agree. I'm a little worried about. Who else did we list? I think Gibson's been overvalued all last season. I think he's solid. I think he's really good. And I think his value is about to drop down to probably more reasonably where it should be. Eckler, I'm a little worried about because the NFL can always give up on smaller running backs with no draft capital.
Especially with 0 targets.
CEH, solid floor. That's all I
Yes.
And Jonathan Taylor thrived the hell out of the offense. That target show is insane. I don't know what's going on with the Colts. I don't know if I want them to keep throwing to the running backs or not. But that was a smart play, given their depth chart. I think they fed it to where they had talent, which is running back. I think that's what happened. And I think that's
smart for Michael Pittman, but that's not really the point. And Paris Campbell, one freaking catch.
I mean, if he can just learn to be talented, he'll be fine. So I won't worry about it.
Ouch. Thoughts on Chark's outlook after getting 12 targets? I'm moving on because that hurt my feeling. But only getting 3 catches in a lopsided game. Is he the true number one? I don't think there's going to be a true number one on that team yet. Because, again, on your less talked about things, you have James O'Shaughnessy, who ends up like with 12 targets or something weird like that. So I think with Urban Meyer's boring offense, with a team that is terrible, everyone's going to get a lot of targets, in which case you should be happy with anyone on that team. You're just not going to get a consistent scorer. The only person, honestly, I feel super safe with is Laviska, because he's the only person they design plays for. They have to work out for him to score a lot of points. I think he put up like 9-ish points on much less than 12 targets, just because, yeah, he caught the ball within 3-4 yards of the line of scrimmage. Sometimes he breaks 2 tackles and makes it for 20 yards. Sometimes he just gets tackled. So, but you'll have a safe PPR floor with him. But like you see with Chark, 12 targets is wonderful. Not all of them are great targets because their offensive line is terrible and he just has to chuck the ball sometimes. And he's a rookie quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence. You know, he has the long hair and, you know, certain religious oligarchies and all, but he's not that. He's a rookie quarterback. And he's not going to come into the league and just be fantastic right away. Will he be in 6-8 weeks? Maybe. But right now, I mean, I'm not spending much on anyone in this offense, and I don't think you have to. But I don't think Chark is going to magically ascend to even like a top 15, 20 wide receiver. I don't think that's going to happen, at least this season.
Never.
I'm trying to be nice a little bit, because I do like the player a bit, but
I don't know. How many years ago was it now? 3 years ago, he had a top 24 season. It was the least impressive top 24 season of any wide receiver
2 years ago.
Ever.
It was just last year that was bad.
In terms of a points per game basis, like it was a discount top 24 season. I traded him that year to the mockery and shame of many DLF writers on Twitter for Mike Gesicki, because everyone was saying Mike Gesicki can be good that year. I'm yet to regret that decision. And you now, my friend, have a chance to do the same thing. Don't trade him for Mike Gesicki. It's just who I wanted to make a point for. And he's had 2 top 12 tight end seasons since then. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, I would take any value increase in a Jacksonville wide receiver and go use it for something else. In Dynasty, you're right. If there's a wide receiver on this team I want, it's Laviska Shenault. I mean, Marvin Jones's cost versus production greatness, but I don't think there's production greatness on this offense that you really want on your Dynasty team. I mean, if you went full on rock hard, robust RB.
I'm sorry in general, because you're
that was never a strategy. I don't know who sold that as a strategy. It was just a thing someone said on Twitter and they started calling it. It doesn't work. But I mean, it means you've got a lot of running backs and no wide receivers, and Chark or Marvin Jones could do something for you there. Yeah. But Laviska Shenault would be the target overall. Mostly, I have James Robinson still a few places in our DLF pod league, actually, and I'll ride it because James Robinson was really good last year. I don't have a lot of running back production. I'll see what happens. I don't think I can get a good deal from Saquon Barkley out of him right now, so I'll just hold.
I can personally tell you no, because that is my team you're talking about.
Well, any league. But outside of that, just no to Jacksonville Jaguars. Is he the wide receiver one for Jacksonville Jaguars? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think those were long bombs, and it'll probably Shenault over the long term, but I don't think you want any of them. That's not trying to be mean.
You don't want to. Okay, let me rephrase that, because I'm the nice guy. I'm the people pleaser. You don't want to have to depend on any of them. How about that? It's great to have them on your team. If you start 10, 11, 12 guys, you're going to need to start one of them probably every week, if not eventually. And that's cool if they're like your wide receiver 4 or 5. I don't feel safe with even Laviska, who I like the most, or Chark as my wide receiver 3. I don't feel super safe with them.
I'm not going to be able to pull that up quick, but the reason I always talk about top 5, top 12, and top 24 is because I have usable week numbers on them. So like a top 24 wide receiver, you should be able to expect to start around about, if memory serves, 30% of the time. And I don't think any of them finish inside the top 24. So no matter which is a wide receiver 1, maybe one of them. Matter. But you're hoping to start them 3 out of every 10 games. That's not what you want. But Oh, it's not. I mean, like I say, in certain teams, yeah, that could be the build you're going for. Like if you've just got Barkley, Henry, Antonio Gibson, like if you're fully stacked at running back, then that kind of lineup receiver has a lot of value to you. And so I'm not kind of waving you off entirely. These are professional NFL football players. They're going to do things. I just think if you're looking for a higher usability, it's not that. And also, just I'm suspicious all last season, having never watched a game, let alone a college game. I'm pretty sure Urban Meyer sucks at this, or at least for fantasy. I mean, I'm not trying to declare who is a good or bad coach. What would I know? Except for Adam Gase definitely sucks. But I think Urban Meyer might be struggling. And there's been a lot of weird decisions through the draft, through the off season, and that week one did not dispel that idea. And that's going to be rocky for no matter how good you are on a team. If the team can't move the ball, you can't. I mean, Barkley did it for the Giants once, but a player can't move an entire team, no matter how good you are. Calvin Johnson, maybe, but he had Matthew Stafford even at the time. So, I mean,
Stafford was still a good quarterback, so Stafford had no one else to go to.
Very few players could do that. So, yeah, not even completely panning the players themselves. It's just the team looks like it's going to struggle a lot this year, which means it's probably going to be a value proposition downwards from here to the end, right?
Yeah.
If the team really keeps struggling this badly. Unfortunate for the players.
Have we talked about the Ayuk situation? Sort of. We just kept talking about Debo.
Yeah. And Debo's great.
Debo's great. No,
as the one guy who liked him more than Ayuk, I think I'll take this 1 week that it actually happened, and just pretend like it probably will revert. It's definitely going to revert different weeks in that offense, and Ayuk's going to come back. But I mean, Debo's still good, and it's nice to see. Yeah, go.
We knew that Ayuk wasn't going to have his full workload because it was a little bit of injury related.
I love the way you say we know to these things, because I don't know these things, and they seem
You're clearly not on Twitter nearly as much as I am.
Clearly, but this stuff is very much
like we know, as in we should believe all of the reports. It was
reported. Carry on.
It was reported.
Ignore me pointing out.
It was reported that Ayuk wasn't going to get his full workload because of injury related issues. But even this was rough. Like I started him in like 2 leagues and DraftKings and Bagels. No, like he scored like 0.35 points if you play with return yardage. So yeah, that is a sarcastic woo, by the way. But I do think Ayuk will be fine. He is shown that he's more talented than Dante Pettis has ever showed that he's been able to do. Man, but like between like if this was an actual discipline thing, and then Trey Sermon being a healthy scratch, like maybe something is just going on in the locker room of San Francisco. But man, I am not panicking on Ayuk, especially with how high we brought his value up in the non-point scoring season. Selling cheap now just seems like a terrible move.
That's a sunk cost fallacy. If you're worried, if you definitely think this is going to continue, now's the best time to trade him away. I think it's a little exaggerated. I think it's also a little exaggerated how exaggerated it is, if it makes sense. Every time we see a tall guy who can run fast and score points, we're like, Calvin Johnson, and Ayuk's not that. He's just not that. He's not a 15 points per game, top 5 wide. He's not that. He's very good, had a great rookie season, and it's going to fluctuate for him. This offense specifically runs close to the line of scrimmage, and it runs through George Kittle. There's no wide receiver who's going to be that guy every week, and that's why I say it's probably going to come back to Ayuk before too long. And because he's a great player, he's just not on a team that's going to use him that way. Last week, I think most of his production came when Deebo Samuel was out, if I'm not mistaken, when he was essentially filling in a role that Deebo Samuel primarily plays when healthy. That was why I ended up on Deebo Samuel this offseason. But it is gonna swing back to Ayuk next week or some weeks, and so it's definitely not time to panic sell. But also, yeah, don't sunk cost fallacy me, bro.
Oh, I absolutely will every single chance I get, just because that's my brand, baby.
That's fair. And yeah, if you want, check out Cooper Adams. I forget his @ He writes for DLF. He wrote up Brandon Ayuk. He wrote up CeeDee Lamb this offseason. He's a great No, he's good. And he's fun to talk to. And he is tilting all week.
Cooper_DFF.
Thank you. Until Brandon Ayuk regains his prominent wide receiver one position. He's someone definitely to ask about Brandon Ayuk because he kind of wrote the book on him this offseason. And it was I think he definitely got overvalued, but it was a strong bet. And Cooper can make you feel good or bad about it. He knows more about that situation.
And Ayuk did also get the Matt Harmon bump. Matt Harmon came out and showed the positive reception perception.
Yeah, there you go. Which is almost a death nail since Allen Robinson, but you know whatever. Sorry, I just like throwing out nasty comments now and again. You have to ignore me. I did want to mention a few things that I think are going to get lost just before we get to better questions. I think Anthony Schwartz was more impressive than you might think. Wide receiver 47 this year. I think everyone's mentioned him because he was wide receiver 2 while OBJ's out, but OBJ is not coming back straight away. He had a really solid to good rookie profile from college. He's someone I noticed in the pre-draft process. I definitely didn't think he could have that much opportunity in the NFL year one, let alone game one. And I think that was impressive. Dynasty-wise, he's probably on rosters already, but he's also someone that was being drafted around the 4th round. I mean, he's worth a quick check. We're probably after waivers, so he's probably added. But wide receivers, it's hard to add that depth. So I think that might be an underrated or under-noticed thing. I think most people are interested in Trent Sheffield, which, Brandon Ayuk's going to beat out Trent Sheffield if that's a concern, for sure, in my opinion. Also, Zach Pascal season. Sorry, I've been holding out for years now.
Every season is
this
Zach
one
Pascal's
week.
Season. At some point or another, every season is Zach Pascal season.
You will give me my 1 week of wide receiver 19 production, and you will let me enjoy it.
No, I am. I'm here for it. I'm absolutely agreeing with you. I'm not being sarcastic at all. Every year for the past 4 years,
it's been Zach Pascal and Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne, and before that it was Adam Thielen. I get 1 in every 5 undrafted free agent wide receivers that I love. And this is not another Adam Thielen, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy he did something week 1. Again, he largely overperformed, a lot less volume because it all went to the running backs and he just caught touchdowns. And unfortunately, that's not stable. But again, Zach Pascal is going to prove that he is usable and an above average talent at the NFL level, despite being undrafted, because the Colts are going to keep rostering him. He's going to keep doing more than the average wide receiver with the targets he gets. He's just never going to be that fantasy guy. I get it, but I get 1 week of it, so I'm pretty happy. So I just wanted to mention it. Victory lap or just victory. I don't have to tilt this week once, finally. I think whatever that's called.
We call that the Peter Howard.
I wanted to mention Terrace Marshall. I used his incorrect name again. Damn. Terrace Marshall. He's almost earned his name from me at this point. As someone who didn't like him, didn't draft him, and thought he was a good 2nd round pick when he was being drafted late first, I was out, is the description I'm trying to say. I was highly impressed with his week 1, and that might be underrated because it came in terms of volume and not a touchdown. But he had a lot of opportunity week 1. I think that's impressive. I'm trending wrong. I'm not buying because I stick by my rookie takes pretty much until I know for sure.
Lock it in.
But if you like Terrace Marshall, I would not be discouraged by that week 1. That was really good. Robbie Anderson caught the touchdown. Terrace Marshall had more opportunity. It looks like he's winning that role.
Yes, I'm scared for Robbie Anderson, even though I was huge into Robbie Anderson.
Me too. I love Robbie Anderson, man. And he caught that touchdown and saved me from a $5 bet, so I was pretty happy about that one. If Terrace Marshall caught that touchdown, I owe someone $5, and Robbie Anderson just one more time, man, just one more time saves my little cheeks. It's a week of the high volume, low production running back is the other thing I wrote down on this minor. Mike Davis led the league in expected points per game or expected points at the running back position. He had more opportunity than Christian McCaffrey. He ranks 1, Christian McCaffrey is 2. Wow. The team sucked. Again, we're talking about the Falcons, but the usage was there. And so I just want to retcon my start Mike Davis from last week. He gave you 11 points. It was fine, but it could have been a lot more if the team didn't absolutely suck. Darrell Henderson was running back 14. I don't think anyone's disappointed in that, but the usage was higher, so he could produce more ideally than that going forward. Myles Gaskin,
he had straight up workhorse numbers.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but he finishes running back 14, so I'm not sure if
He's also not great.
the volume was better. Yeah, but he's going to keep getting that volume, which is what I chase.
Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing for Miles Gaskin, running back 24 in points, but the opportunity was there, despite Salman Aaron, right?
Savon Ahmed.
Thank you. Being ahead of Malcolm Brown in the pecking order, it was pretty much Miles Gaskin what we hoped for, or what I hoped for.
And Malcolm Brown will always be there to ruin someone's day. It's just
well, that's the thing. He did. I think the volume was there. The points were. I think the points will eventually follow the volume. Not this week. I think he's got a difficult matchup, but he's still start worthy as a running
Patriots
back.
Patriots are a difficult matchup. I mean, that's can take that away.
And again, volume points will follow is my hope here with this list. Chase Edmonds too. I really thought I was really uncertain about Chase Edmonds. James Conner, I ended up drafting a lot of both in best ball essentially. Same. But Edmonds had the volume of the valuable volume at least, and James Conner struggled a little bit. I don't know what an NFL team is going to choose to do, but mostly I chase the volume, and Chase Edmonds' volume was better than his points might have felt. And so
he got all of the targets. Connor got none, but I think what you're going to be chasing with Connor is a short yardage and touchdown. Like, it's not even a 2-down back thing. It's not even that kind of split. I think they will pull Edmonds out when they get inside the 5, unless it's.
I have occasionally maybe watched. I can understand how anyone who watches James Conner run sees a hardworking player who will do his best. I understand why you would start him in certain situations. He's a good player. I think. Fantasy-wise, Edmonds is going to keep getting more fantasy point volume, and eventually the points will follow better that way. And I think he was startable this week. I think he got double-digit points. I mean, Mike Davis level, but still.
Edmonds, he got like a 13, 14 points, PPR at least.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, before we move on, head down to Aaron's next comment.
Yes, sir. What's wrong with Damien here? Why do you want to go skip straight to Aaron here?
Because he was
talking about Mike Davis. Joannis, big fan of Joannis. Why are you trying to skip past Joannis?
Well, because I'm just jealous because I want pizza.
Fair enough. Sorry, I'll try and get out of here.
No, because we're talking about running backs, and we talked about, we talked about. I didn't want to skip too past San Francisco. Plus, you were talking about San Francisco still on the thing below. Wayne Gallman, that dude seems to be okay whenever you put him in, but it's not someone you ever feel great about putting in.
In a lot of trouble for saying he was terrible. This offseason, I'm never talking about players. I'm talking about fantasy points. I don't know these people, and they're all physically superior to me. I'm not stupid enough to talk about them personally. They could crush me. And also they're great people. But essentially the way I saw it is Wayne Gallman will get more touches. This is week 1 after he's just entered a team. But, I mean, both he and Mike Davis had to replace their elite caliber starter running back last year. And Mike Davis did pretty well with it, and Wayne Gallman didn't. He did okay. He did, what a professional athlete should do in that situation. I think Mike Davis just had more valuable volume. I think Wayne Gallman's usage will trend up, but especially if Mike Davis keeps underperforming that level of volume, to be fair. But for now, I'm just going to keep up with the touches that are going to Mike Davis. But yeah, good point. It's fair. You seem disappointed.
No, it's fine.
He had good just.
You yelled at me about the comments thing. I never really recovered. So
I thought it was funny, man.
Well, the joke.
I'm gonna keep trying to make jokes. I don't care if any of them don't land. I don't look at yards. Is that yards per carry? And again, Wayne Gallman did decent in New York, considering the situation he was in. I was more impressed with what Mike Davis did. Right. As far as earning opportunity without the roster being devastated above him, I've never seen him do that. For fantasy,
I'm going to scroll back up and we're going to go to Damon's question because I don't want to skip Damon in any way, shape, or form. And yes, now we're getting bragging about the pizza. I mean, we kind of talked about that. We don't think Mike Davis. I don't think there's that much concern for him because he got the work and it was just a really bad game. So we're going to assume that he's going to be better than this going forward. And especially if you're talking about a flex play as opposed to even, in your running back position, then now I would honestly feel safe putting Mike
Yeah,
Davis
I
in my flex
think
spot.
he's a running back too. You get the option of starting in your flex, and so I think he's a solid
Yeah.
start this week. He was last week, and he got the volume and the points. If he keeps doing that, then touches will probably slide away from him. Teams can make that decision, but then you have to dig into the James Conner and Chase Edmonds. I mean, teams will keep feeding it to a running back doing less for them from a fantasy perspective because of NFL decisions I have no insight or understanding of, so I'm not going to assume it will happen.
Watching football one of these days.
Nah, that's I don't think that's how you get insight. You've got to study football. You got to, I mean, like anything else, you want to get good at it. You have to learn it. I have enough trouble learning fantasy. Where are Ridley Truth there? Hey guys, I love the show and content. How are you feeling about making offers for Judy? Yeah. I feel great about it.
This is a Ridley Truther and talking about Jerry Judy. This is my people.
Is this you? Here. Is this actually you in an alt?
This is my burner. This is me on my phone typing right now. Yes, go get Jerry Judy. If you can get him for go pay the real. You can get Judy for the real price now, not the preseason hyped price.
Yes,
and
good
if you can
get
him for the smallest of discount, yes, go do it. Jerry Judy is very good at football. I liked Jerry Judy because him and Calvin Ridley very close to being the same thing. Jerry Judy might be a little better in open space, not gonna lie, but yes, go get Jerry Judy. Go right now. Yes. Made an offer Callaway and a first for Judy, and that got accepted.
Wow. Here's what I'd say about that. That was a walk-off trade.
Yeah, Judy miles ahead of Callaway in a first.
What I tend to say, because I'm bad at trades, and that's why I have Russ, so I'm going to talk over him, obviously, is when there's a value window, you can get players for what they're valued at. Not that you get them less. Like, Jerry Judy's 2 first-round picks easy, so I wait for a value window, then I send 2 first-round picks.
Yes.
And because no one wants to trade a player for what they're valued at. It's because they're on your roster because you like them that much or more. But when value dips, you don't say, I can get him for 1 first now. Instead, you can actually trade him for that. So that's the way I try to think of it. And that's significantly less than that.
It's really funny. Like you said it correct. There's a buying window of where you can get him for his value. But the problem is that's not good podcasting. So that's why we say go buy low. But when in fact, low is just the real price.
And that's been one of the harder things venturing into trying to do better with trades. It's everyone wants mostly doing badly at trades is no one's going to accept a good trade. Very rarely will people actually accept what is a decent trade. And John Bosch has been trying to teach me that it's about volume, Peter, or however he talks. I know, Cincinnati. That sound right? I know. It's about volume. It's a little more nasally. I know.
I don't listen when he talks. I don't know.
That's the way I hear him. He's like an old 40-year-old pool house smoker. It's about volume, Peter. And I've also been trying to get better at. It feels so bad to trade away stuff for stuff that you want, but you have to. Like Jerry Judy is worth 2 first-round picks. Yes, go get him. And by that means, I mean send 2 first-round picks. Not you're going to get him for less.
Trade away good things to get good things.
But I mean, clearly Ridley Truther is proving me wrong. I mean, it depends on your league. If people tilt left and right that far, then yeah, send a lower offer. But I would be willing still to trade for him at the same number of picks I would have been a week ago. And I think you can get him for that now. Whereas last week, you definitely could. That was way too long of an answer, but I got to say stuff, so I was a fan of it. And Russ actually has a lot of thoughts on Jalen Hurts. He was mentioning them earlier. I forgot because I try to avoid quarterback evaluation. Do you want to mention it again, Russ?
I think I almost said something very dangerous. I was about to say he made that Josh Allen jump where Josh Allen was just the running quarterback that could just chuck the ball really far but not accurate. And then he came in and went from like 58% completion to like 72%. I'm not saying that's what Jalen Hurts did, but he looked the part of a real quarterback. He didn't look like a running quarterback. He looked like a quarterback that can run. So I'm still terrified that team will be terrible and they have so much draft capital that they can replace him. I hope they don't, but I have no faith in the Eagles front office. This season,
I have a little more faith now than I did all last season. That first game impressed me. I didn't think I was worried they were going to keep being what they were. And they were.
They looked good, absolutely. And I think a lot of that does have to do with Jalen Hurts and maybe that their offensive line finally clicked a little bit. So, yes,
Yep.
I love Jalen Hurts going forward, at least for the rest of this season. It's on the Eagles to be smart and not replace him, whether it's further than that. But if that team like wins 2 games the entire year, I mean, maybe they bring in Spencer Rattler because they'll have the 101 and a couple of firsts on top of it. And why not bring in the new sexy name when they just lost with a different guy they drafted in the second?
I don't know. They've shown a lot of faith in him so far. Again, I'm still tentatively willing
Gardner
to
Minshew,
believe.
baby. You don't bring in Gardner Minshew for no reason.
No, I think those Jacksonville Jaguars literally trying to hamstring Maya. They were like, no, he's going to start him if we don't get rid of him.
Yes. No, yes. That was the Jags move, and that was the smart move.
That was exactly what that was. And the Philadelphia were like a good quarterback backup for free? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Quarterback evaluation, here's my entire process. I gave up. I got Patrick Mahomes right. Quit the game. Don't think it's getting better than that.
You waited to get one right.
I got so much wrong outside of that. And so I'll just retire on a high note. So what I do is I wait till it's obvious and then pick the parts that turned out to be right. So I get to say Drew Brees is one of the most accurate passes we've ever seen in the NFL. Because I already know it's true. Someone came up with it first before it happened. Not me, but now I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Aaron Rodgers. Incredible at producing touchdowns. Sounds like I know I'm just taking the parts of what people guessed that actually turned out to be true. If we're doing that for Hurts right now, it's Ray Garvin. Pretty much he's got more of it right. This guy's a more accurate passer, definitely than Josh Allen, maybe than Lamar Jackson, and he's the rusher both of them can be, at least in the middle there somewhere. And that's pretty impressive. And week 1 so far, those things seem to be the parts that's true. He's an above average passer and a good rusher. And that's a hell of a combination. The league is seeing a quarterback revolution. That's what we've seen the last few years. And now they're easing into their roles. I mean, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, and Aaron Rodgers, they sat on this crown for a long time. It's probably the beginnings of a new era. Not that those guys are suddenly dust, although Ben kind of looked like it. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers will bounce back this week. But yeah, we're definitely seeing the final year of the takeover, if you will.
Yeah,
for fantasy at least. All right. What else did we get? Aaron Trope. I've got nothing else in my notes, so these guys better have something.
Man. We got some good stuff going on.
Thanks, guys. No problem. Noah Alpha, does Eckler lingering injury concern you moving forward? Definitely, considering the role he had week 1, which is the part you mentioned, no targets.
Well, that's got anything on injury? Worries. No. Austin Eckler is not going to play every game any season. It's just not going to happen. It's something that is baked into his price. If he played every game and got the receptions he did last year, he would be a top 5 running back, and he'd be priced as a top 5 running back. But the problem is, we know he's going to miss a couple of games, and he didn't have the draft capital. But that's besides the point.
So what does that mean for Dynasty overall? Like, he's got top 5 upside, but he's never going to start every game. This is already starting this early. Is there a Dynasty implication?
Like 27, 28 already. I mean, the thing is, like, he's one of those guys where his Dynasty value does kind of equal his production value, and we're not used to that, because it's usually like, oh man, I have to pay this much for this young guy because he's young, but he's not scoring points yet. Now, Austin Eckler, he's in that spot where you pay for what you get, or even, Christian McCaffrey, who's scoring so many points, it doesn't matter. You have to pay so much more than those points are worth to go get him. Austin Eckler's in that right spot, in which case I'm all for going to get him, as long as you do have the depth on your team to survive it. I love Austin Eckler. I have always been a fan of him, but yeah, as long as you know that, as long as you're ready for week 8 to 11 of having to play someone else, then go for it.
I was in on the off season of Austin Eckler because he's an undrafted free agent. So I'm like one of the few people that were looking up Austin Eckler's stats before he did anything. At this point, I think I'm nervous enough. He does have legitimate top 5 upside, but between injuries, draft capital, and that's a really good team. So, like, yeah, it's tough.
But how about this? You're going to get top 8 points per game.
If I'm trading him, I'm trading into more points probably with Eckler. I'm not looking to sell him for the very low ball offers I'd get in value. And so it's trying to trade into a Zeke, a Barkley, if anyone's panicked, a Gibson that underperformed week 1. But I'm definitely playing for points with Eckler. And if I can't get one of those guys, I think has a more solid top 5 profile, then I'm just riding Austin Eckler. What could you get? I think his value, if your team
sucks, more than a
sucks,
first for Austin Eckler right now.
Yeah, you can get more than a first. But I think he's one of those guys that it'd almost not be worth me trading him. If I've got Austin Eckler and Tyson Williams and freaking Mike Davis, I'll make a run and hope my wide receivers can win. I don't want to trade away Austin Eckler for that. I just feel like his value is always too low. He's an undrafted free agent. It just seems to be a thing.
If you can, I'm trying to think of a good example, and it's not really coming to me, but if you can find a person in your league that believes in Austin Eckler but still thinks David Montgomery is just average, then yes, if I can get Montgomery in a second for Austin Eckler, I do that, because David Montgomery is the definition of a safe running back. But he's shown if he has a good schedule, and especially once I think Justin Fields comes in, that just makes it even better for David Montgomery. But I mean, we'll see if that ever happens, because Matt Nagy's terrible. So yes, move to something safer if you're moving off of Eckler.
That's what I'd say. You're looking for more running back production. You're not looking for, because Austin Eckler legitimately has a better ceiling than anyone you could trade him for right now. But if you're feeling uncertain 100%. About it, because he will get injured, running backs do, then go for safer with a little something. It's probably going to suck when he goes off, but I mean, injuries and undrafted free agent, you got to remember why you're doing it. For me, most cases when I've got Eckler, I'm never going to find a trade I like or another player that someone else is willing. So I'm riding Austin Eckler as long as he's healthy, and then benching him when I think he's not. Unfortunately, here's the thing. I love undrafted free agents, but the minute other people realize they're good, it's almost time to sell. Like Adam Thielen has been consistently better than most wide receivers for years now, and what you could get for him has never been more than it was like that second top 12 season. When
he was breaking the record of 100-yard games.
It peaks with undrafted free agents, and no one's ever really willing. You could still get first for Julio this offseason, People are never quite willing to extend the value of lower drafted players the same way they are for high drafted, because we know the NFL is snobs. And so the minute they are good, despite wanting those points, it's almost in Dynasty time to consider moving them. And that's the part that sucks about liking them. I mean, or you just ride the point.
That's a rising cost fallacy. How about that?
That's probably a thing. Sure. I apologize.
I'm making it a thing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to do it, because that's like the reverse of what you put on me. So no,
fair enough.
You don't do that.
I think the points are always going to outstrip the value. Is that the appropriate term anymore? I'm not sure.
Dynasty value.
Yeah.
There's fantasy value and dynasty value. Fantasy value is the points they put up. Dynasty value is the stuff we make up in the air and what makes us want to have to be able to trade them for.
Good examples. Michael Gallup, loved him, drafted him a lot. Is a lower drafted player, not undrafted free agent. Last offseason was the time to trade him because his value hit a good window. It will never get back there. It might be close, but he'll never be better. I don't think so. Same with Darnell Mooney. Like this offseason or this season
free agent
is probably
year,
the best
free agent year for Michael Gallup. And then next is a free agent year for Allen Robinson.
Even if he does well, that dynasty value is going to be always. I don't think there's solidity or whatever it is to it after a certain point. Because we know the NFL is snobs. Tyrell Williams is still good in the NFL, and he has to hope there's no one else on the depth chart to get targets because the NFL hates, and we know that. So we eventually we remember that, and their value it's soft. So they're always points. Plays after a certain point for me, and Eckler's in that category. And we missed a lot of targets while I was trying to invent a fallacy. Any other stud running back discounts we love? Dobbins, Etney. I think we've been as soon as we've been injured, that debate's well played, right? If you can trade for a team that actually the actual experience, found a team in one of my dynasty leagues with both Dobbins and Etney, who was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty much giving up. I'm pretty much giving up." And so
I don't know who that is, but I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah, that does. But it gave him an opportunity. He's a smart dynasty player. It was like, I suck this year, so you've got Michael Thomas. He's not playing for the first 6 weeks. Here's all my wide receiver points players. Give me Michael Thomas. It was a terrible trade for me, a terrible trade for him, but I got more points than I'll get in the first 6 weeks. And he's got Michael Thomas by next season. So he used it as an opportunity. You could go that way with it. If you've got Dobbins and ETN,
that's what you have to do.
That would be the smartest way to go. As far as targeting them, you're doing that if your team is looking to the future and the team with Dobbins or ETN. Learn how to say that name right, though. How about that? One of my Patreons taught me. They were like, just spell the letters out. ETN.
Yeah, that's how I was taught it. Yeah.
Like a 3-year-old. That's how they taught me how to say it. Basically, like teaching a 3-year-old spelling, like ETN. Okay. I would only target them if you're not good this year. And if that's the case, though, because. Which one is it? It's ETM with a more questionable injury, right? Like as far as return rates.
Yeah, Liz Frankfoot. I don't think I think did he have a break? I can't remember anymore. The only Liz Frank break I can remember was Lev Bell before his rookie year. And I mean, we're not going to call ETN Lev Bell, even though Lev Bell wasn't Lev Bell coming into he was not great his rookie year, which means maybe we have to expect ETN not to be great next year. So maybe we don't go out and get ETN now because
I don't. I think I'll say it. I think he's Rashad Penny. I'm done with this. This is too my feelings like that. This is too messy. The team's probably not going to be good next year. It's not going to turn around in one off season. So he's going to be returning with like. I read one study which is like you return to like 30% performance year one. Now we're looking at a third-year running back on a team that may have improved. I think it's just going to cascade from here. But, I mean, this time next offseason or just before the season starts, he's probably going to be worth more then than he is now. And so you could try playing a dynasty flip that way. But be aware with ETN, that's, I think, what you do. You're not hoping to start him next year. Dobbins, you could be hoping to start him.
Yes. I would go by Dobbins if I think my team's going to be good next year.
Yeah. Outside of that, stud running backs that you might get at their value, to use my early phrasing. I mean, it's Zeke, it's Barkley, it's Gibson, maybe Henry, but I want targets. It's those guys. Honestly, I think if you want it less, I do really like that list of Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, Myles Gaskin, and Edmonds. Those are the guys we were buying this last month anyway, or trying to draft in that running back dead zone. But their week one, the volume was there, their points weren't, so there still might be this slight window. And they don't cost you multiple first. But if you're looking for stud running backs, you go one way or the other, man. You're going to have to pay up for players that disappointed in week one or try to get lesser cost. Is cost an okay word anymore? I don't know. You have to trade less for Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, and hope that opportunity is replaceable production. But those are my two lists in terms of running backs I would quote unquote target.
Yeah, I think that's the right list.
Well, it's not the right list. It's running back. I'm not going to get that right. I was really hoping you would like alpha it up and be like, no, man, it's definitely not those guys.
I hate running backs more than you do, so it's not going to happen.
We're going to need to get a third guy in here. Or go. Probably going to need a go. Get someone with actual guts in here. I put 650 out of my 667 on my fab budget on Elijah Middle, waiting for the results. Wish me luck. Wow, that sounds like a lot. Probably not going to get him. I went in full for Scott Fishbowl. Like I just put the whole lot, apart from like $2, $5, because I wanted to put a bid on Zach Pascal. And the guy I forgot to mention, James O'Shaughnessy, because tight end. And who we probably should mention before we get out of here now. But and I got outbid by like $2. $1, exactly $1 in by Dave Caban. So yeah. I hope you get. I mean, what do you think? I actually put my thoughts out of this on Twitter. I think the waiver wire is a low risk place to take big ass swings with upside, and like it doesn't. Waiver wire, that's what I would Dynasty.
Say. Yeah, that's what I do. I don't bother putting in $2 bids on people. I wait till I find Elijah Mitchell's, or the best is to always go back to CJ Anderson off the street, where like that's what you do. You wait till you find that one guy that will change your team right away. That's what you do with the waiver wire. Because
I used to be the exact opposite. and it took me forever to figure out why it was just a bad idea. Like the best waiver wire picks I've made are the one, or that I've seen made, are the ones someone goes 100% on week 1, or they're the ones that were free, or that you didn't have to waiver wire. Like I picked up Myles Gaskin last year. He was just an ad. Like it was after the waivers ran. Yeah. And so like we have no idea who it's going to be. So you may as well take big swings, like the running back who breaks out. You may as well. I mean, it might be the best running back pick, the best waiver wire pickup this year. It might be the worst. It might be just the best for this week. And the best one could be a free agent that you pick up week 10. No one knows. we don't know what's going to happen. So take big swings. I'm a fan of that. Treat Eckler like Lockett. Yeah, he's going to put up 0 some weeks, but he's going to win you some too. He's going to win you a lot if he's like Lockett. Like, yeah. Embracing uncertainty, Jordan McNamara. I believe he got that from me. Really truth. I had to pause the show for a minute, but yes, love the wide receiver love. There are some disappointing times, I have to say, when you're searching for that Darrell Henderson-like production. you can question yourself when you're on the waiver wire, like how much 100% should I put in for Elijah Mitchell? You have some moments, but yeah. It's a life. So we should sell Gaskin high before the season. Season started.
Before the end of this season. I don't think he's the running back next. I didn't think he was going to be the running back this year. I'm going to be honest. So I definitely don't think he's going to be the running back next year.
No, it's a running calculation. As soon as I don't think I'm likely to be in the final, yes. But as long as I think I'm in the running, like decent shot, like I'm not trading running backs away. It's only when I start, this team, I'm not sure. It's whenever you get to that point, then it's time to sell my running backs, and then always be selling running backs. I've literally got to get that tattoo.
Always be selling
pretty much.
You can get matching tattoos on that one.
Peter, you jack up the names all the time, but you don't mess up mine, and most people do. That's the way I roll. I don't know what to tell you. That's not a brand. It's literally just me. I can pronounce the most difficult things or the most often mispronounced things, and I can't pronounce Terrence.
Terrace.
Thank you. Don't. Not gonna happen.
I didn't mean to correct you on your show.
Appreciate you noticing, though. Hardly anyone does. Like. You can pronounce like the weirdest things, but I know the most esoteric words, like the word esoteric.
Like the word esoteric.
But I can't recognize the name Terrace. Like I'm like, oh, Terrence, got it. No, Terrence. Yeah, I'm not very smart, but I have a weird.
You're so smart. It seems like you're not smart.
I think it's the other way. Take so unsmart. It seems like I might be smart. Kenny Galladay, price check. Sterling Shepard, concerned to sell. I mean, with Shepard, it's like everything else where you end up in this position of, let me not do that. Value. I will always trade Sterling Shepard away because I'm seeking higher upside wide receivers than Sterling Shepard's. They're replaceable, good, reliable wide receivers. And if you're trying to win with mostly drafting wide receivers, you need Stephon Diggs last year. You don't need this stuff that you often find in my undrafted free agents, like the Zach Pascals and the Kendrick Bournes. If you're trying to win with wide receiver, you need a higher floor than that. So I tend to trying to work my way up. I don't know what this is. I'm doing some sort of dance. Work my way up from those players up to higher upside players. I appreciate joining in there. We'll just have to put a backing track on here and it'll look like I'm a normal person. I talk with my hands, damn it. So yeah, I don't think there's any concern with Sterling Shepard. I just think he's not Jarvis Landry.
You have to bake in that Shepard's going to miss games.
He's not Jarvis Landry. He's not going to turn that kind of role into a top 5 season like Landry did that once. He's not that, and therefore I'm always kind of trying to move up from him. But he's fine. I'm not concerned. He's a good NFL player who's going to maintain his role. Kenny Galladay,
he's a good wide receiver 4 or 5 on your team.
I'm actually a little concerned with Galladay. I'm someone who thought he had top 12 upside. I wasn't willing to trade at that value, Russ. I remember you. But I did think he had that kind of upside. So he's someone I was trying to trade a Shepard up to a Galladay. And week 1, hopefully that's just the Giants have a quarterback problem. I don't know when they're going to realize it, but they have a quarterback problem. But I still think good players can still do something in a mediocre situation. But that week one, hopefully that's just what week one on a new team. But it was a little concerning. He's still got that top 12 upside though. So
Yes.
I don't know. How do you measure price? You do trades all the time. I tend to think in
I got yelled at. I very, 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 very rarely actually get yelled at on Twitter. Because again, I think just the name Outhouse insulates me from people taking me seriously.
What's that like?
Maybe you just take everything that I don't get. But I said apparently Kenny Golladay isn't worth a 23 first anymore. And just the world imploded saying, well, he never was in the first place. Or of course he's not.
He was. Definitely was.
Yes. Yeah. And I got one for him, by the way. Plus, I can't remember what that other piece was, but I got something. I think it was Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor in the 23 first.
I just traded away Michael Thomas. I can bleed first round picks since my anyway, Karen.
To go back, Kenny Golladay, he should be worth the first. I mean, that's pretty easy to say for me.
Which should be less than what he was worth, but it's still high priced. Seem fair?
He is a new receiver on he's a receiver on a new team who's just still recovering from a sore hamstring, which he missed practice time. He played the game. It's going to take him a game or two to click. I mean, that's just the honest truth. And why did Sterling Shepard do so well? Because he's played with Daniel Jones for a while already. I mean, Evan Engram wasn't playing. Darius Slayton isn't going to be on the field all that much anymore. Kadarius Toney is also new. So yeah, Sterling Shepard, that's why he got so many targets, because he's the familiarity right now. I think that will change because Kenny Golladay is just more talented than Sterling Shepard is. And I like Kenny Golladay on the Giants because what is Daniel Jones? He's a bad version of Matt Stafford. He's a dude that is more mobile than he looks, but he's also willing just to freaking chuck the ball. That's one thing that was so much fun about Stafford was it doesn't matter how many people were literally on Calvin Johnson's back. He's like, oh, Calvin's open. And just chuck the ball.
Literally just carry it. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, and it was fine. And I honestly, not to call Kenny Golladay, I mean, Babytron, right? He's not Megatron, and I completely understand that, but it's a similar situation where Daniel Jones is a guy who will throw to a receiver who is kind of covered. Kenny Golladay is the guy who can win contested catches. I think it will click. I think it will work. Will he be a top 12 wide receiver? Probably not. There's just so many very good wide receivers on very good offenses. But top 24, I think, is easily in the realm of possibility for Kenny Golladay. And at this point, only paying a first, drafting him where you did, that's great value for it.
If you can, I don't know. He's like I tried. I don't think anyone who has Golladay wants to trade him away for just a first round pick. Which is the only time I will. I like team all guy wide receiver because you're more likely to know what their upside and downside are because you have enough history of them. And Galladay's been in the top 12 that once when it was literally just Matthew Stafford serving it up, basically. But until he's in that team old guy price range of people are just like, what's next? What's the next new shiny
thing? 28 already.
Once people realize that pick there in 2 years, then he's not on team old guy wide receiver. That's what you can get Adam Thielen for. And until he is, I think I'm trading away for it first. The minute he's easy to do that for, he'll be an add-on in trades where I think all guy wide receiver, a reliable source of points for less. But right now, I think his actual value is a little too high, so I will be below market. I
think a first is a fair price, and I'd be willing to pay it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think we get many of those trades. I think if you send a first round pick to Golladay, and they're like, maybe I'll see you a few weeks. Maybe I'll see you a few weeks. You know what I mean?
Okay, well now I'm gonna have to find a team where I can try that because
that's the thing. I'm not good at assessing whether trades are going to get accepted or not.
Oh, you can't. Value-wise, every single league, it's different. Yeah. Every team, there's a person that has a player on their team that is in a different situation than a different league where the person has that same player. So it's tough to tell. But I mean, in Trade Addict 7, which is what you were talking about before, my team is bad. I earned Trevor Lawrence, but I, for some reason, have Kenny Golladay on my team. And I can't get rid of him because no one is willing to pay a first for him.
That's what I mean. He was asking what the price check, like what, and I think the real value of him is slightly different to where we think it should be. And I don't know quite how to express which is which.
It's one of those
what does he have to trade to someone to get Golladay right now that will be accepted? Like low as possible. It's like a first, right? It's
You'll
there.
find the right person to take 2 seconds. I got to be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
if the
I mean,
wrong
it's your
person
league.
has him,
Yeah.
if the wrong person has him, I think you'll be able to get him for less than the first. He shouldn't. Like the player he
That's
is,
fair.
the position I think he's in, I think it should be more. But again, should be doesn't necessarily matter. It all depends on who has him and how they feel about it.
That's why I hate trades. Like the last person who was talking about the trade was talking about Juden, and if he just asked me, I'd be like, send 2 seconds. And he would have overpaid exactly 1 second, Anna Marcus Callaway. So, like,
You would have gotten
I
your
can
guy.
tell
That's
you
all that
where I
matters.
think the value is, but in
Okay,
your league, you
here's the
might get
dirty
something
secret
entirely
about
different.
trading. As long as you're happy with the results, you paid the right price.
That's actually what I'm trying to get better at. That's what John's trying to teach me with the volume, Pete. Just trade volume because it's like
he is a slave to value. Like me and John, our trading styles like are oil and water. Like he cares about value so much more than I do. Like I know value, but I'm willing to go against it if it means I'm getting what I want out of it.
But the point that he was emphasizing recently is if you want something on someone else's team, they want valuable. I'm on the DLF YouTube channel. They want valuable things. Yes, stuff. And they don't want what he's worth. They want something that to them is valuable. And that's a part that's difficult to translate for yourself, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like, this is fair value. Like, but that person or player or pick isn't valuable to them. And it's difficult to... Like 2 seconds could get it done for sure, and I would do that every time. Same for Adam Thielen.
But the thing is, it's so easy to use draft picks because it's a blanket value.
Yeah,
like we're not literally saying 2 second-round picks, but 2 players that are worth a second-round pick each might get you Kenny Galladay.
Trade's so difficult. Very sweet.
So much fun.
It's what makes Dynasty different than redraft, and yet I spend so much of my time thinking we don't know what it is. You know, it's a whole thing. And we don't know really how to... we don't all play in the same league. That's the difficult part. Trade Elijah Mitchell for Will Fuller. Did I make a tragic mistake? No.
Well, you love Will Fuller.
I do,
so
though.
If you say yes, then he's screwed.
That's fair. I do think Fuller's one of those people with that upside I'm trading for if I'm looking for wide receivers in a trade. I don't like Golladay. I don't think he hits it, but I think he's one of the few who has that in his range of outcomes that I can see coming. Do
you think he's redundant now that Waddle's there, though?
No, I think Waddle was doing stuff because Fuller was off the field.
That's my question. I was literally asking.
Hey man, you don't like bad boys, okay? I like the suspended guy, whatever. No, I just know more about Will Fuller. I've seen him compete with DeAndre Hopkins for targets and get a lot of them. I can't forget that. That's impressive to me, and I don't think it's a thing that I can forget. Not as good. He was not as good as DeAndre Hopkins, but if you can take that level of, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's impressive. Waddle was impressive week 1 too. I missed him on that trending wrong list with Terrace Marshall.
There you go.
On the other hand, here, Elijah Mitchell could be nothing next week, but he's probably usable running back production, and that has a lot of value in season. So, I mean, this is the team need. I think it's fairly balanced. Dynasty-wise, I think Will Fuller definitely has more value, even if he tanks this season, than Elijah Mitchell, because Elijah Mitchell's a low-drafted running back who's going to be who may well do nothing next week.
Okay, let me say, value-wise, this is perfect. This is fine.
Yeah,
so it is not at all a tragic mistake. Okay.
No, you're good. You've taken a swing, and it's probably low risk, high reward on both sides. I think it's fine. Yep. If you get it wrong, it always feels like you made a mistake, but you're gonna get stuff wrong if you're trying to win, and you should be trying to win. Sometimes it's gonna not work out. I think you may have, unfortunately. Well, you're just just a hater, Johannes. Not really, but appreciate it.
Oh no, go down and you'll see hater out of Johannes.
Mitchell could be a league winner. I can't. Oh, okay. You just don't like Will Fuller.
No.
That's more acceptable.
Keep it going.
I wouldn't sell Golladay for a first rounder. He's a huge upside guy. That's what we said, basically. Golladay looked good this Sunday. Yeah. Tua's just not that good. Okay, well, we're done here.
Right?
I still haven't seen him play in the NFL to know which parts are true yet. I'm sorry. I don't know why everyone's so willing to know.
The dude looks pretty good with half a hip last year.
No idea. No idea. Turns out Josh Allen's good, and if that can happen, then literally, like, that was the least probable thing. Like, it's like running back. It's where I started to go, screw this position. Like Rashad Penny not having at least a top 24 season is like a 4% occurrence rate. You realize how low odds that was. And Josh Allen
they had
being
people.
good
The
was
Seahawks front
almost
office
as
had
big
people calling them for a trade right after they drafted him.
I know everyone loved him. Just apparently,
No,
it's
it
not
was
good when you get him on
trash.
the
It was the
practice
wrong
squad.
pick from the very beginning, and they were lying.
Apparently,
it was so bad.
Apparently,
but that's not what we're talking about. Remember that joke you
And
said
they
before we
watched
started
tape.
recording, where you said you were aiming for like 40 minutes?
They watch tape and like running backs. I'm just saying.
That's the worst.
Joanna finds it's funny. I can accept that. Any thoughts on the Jaguars situation as a whole? Yeah, we talked about it a lot. I think
we talked. Yeah, go back to the beginning, Skylar. Sorry, we talked a lot about the Jags in the show.
I continue to think that he might not be doing well. I don't want Jaguar players.
We cannot trust Urban Meyer. That's the long and short of it.
You can't get nothing for James Robinson. The upside's worth just holding. And I think my outhouse here is getting tired. So, any players that we missed that you want to mention? I didn't mention Jalen Waddle because I always forget. He is actually my Brandon Ayuk of this season. Very different players. One's tall, one's short. But they have this divided profile where it could be good or it could be bad, and I didn't see him play enough to really know. So I have this neutral squiggly mark on their rookie profiles. So I'm willing. I don't know. And I'm a big Fuller fan, so I just took the under on Jalen Waddle. But you watched, I guess. Is Jalen Waddle, did he just tear it up? Is he just tearing it up in the NFL?
I mean, not yet. He caught a touchdown. Does that count? And he looks
cool.
Good doing it.
He looked good, dude. Well, like Greek gods to us. Yes, that's good. I think most rookies had a positive week one, which I was really expecting a lot more disappointment after last year. I think that's a bigger thing than I maybe realize right now. James O'Shaughnessy, that's the last name I wanted to mention. He had like a top 12 expected points, which I think was just synonymous with volume because it's the points you're meant to score on the touches you get. James O'Shaughnessy, he was on the Jaguars. I don't want Jaguars players, but I'm thin at tight end in a few places, and he was an after the waiver wire ran kind of
especially if it's tight end premium, because there's a chance if he's getting 12 targets every game and he could walk away with 6 catches, just getting those extra points on the catches makes it absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah, probably not Jaguar. Just but for a waiver wire pickup, it's not, or after the waiver wire.
Yes, no, don't pay for any of it, and you can't depend on any of it. But if you get it, you got it, and you use it, it could work out okay. Not good. Okay,
you get it, got it, you use it. Feels good enough to be copyright infringement on something. So that's not
that's mine. I copyrighted it right now as we were talking.
You should do that right now, immediately. I'd say, or someone will. I'm telling you, they'll jump it. They'll be like DLF. Like it, use it, whatever it was.
I already forgot.
I'm out of ideas, so I'm just kind of talking then. Am I forgetting anyone?
Show as opposed to letting us just sit here staring at the camera.
I did. I have no outro plan. I really should have put some thought into like how we step this down.
Just say this was the Wednesday live Dynasty reaction show. I'm your host, Peter Howard. This is my co-host for the week, Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
No, I like to leave with more of a feeling and not this professional stuff you're selling here.
Oh wait, no, okay. Then you know what you do? Just look at the camera and go, "Look over there," and then hit the end button.
that should be great. I was just trying to mention, like, the outro on the 5-minute show sheet just says, "Well, I guess we're done here." So I was just gonna.
Guess we're done.
I guess we're done. No, thanks for checking it out. If you did, if you didn't, then those guys suck, and you can let them know I said it. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again. When is it? Every Wednesday, 9:30. I mean, you might not be here. I haven't had anyone commit to that. You might not be able to be here, but I'm hoping
let me on
someone
camera check my calendar right now. So I can tell you, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, no, I should be here next week at least.
If not, I'll beg everyone. I have so many messages in that DLF Slack chat. Like, anyone going to come on my podcast?
It's funny. We actually have a chat just without you in it, where it's just like, "Yo, let's leave Peter look like we're leaving him hanging."
Pete's talking again. Everyone switched off.
Go to channel 2. Go to channel 2.
It's fine. I like just talking to myself in chat. We get along. We have fun. You guys are missing out. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, hopefully they'll at least be one other person, because I don't know. It seems I don't want to just tell what I think. I think if there's someone else there to check me on what Dynasty implication is,
I will check you before I wreck you. That's how you end
YouTube channel. No, I really think I knocked it out the park with my pre-planning of, well, I guess we're done here.